Hello again. I hope you're all well. A number of years ago, I remember looking on the BBC News website and finding a story about a guy who wrote a diary entry about his life every 5 minutes for several decades. And they showed this library that was just full of diaries of a life lived. Possibly not a life well lived because he stopped every 5 minutes to write down what he was doing, but nonetheless, a life lived. Today's Bible reading kind of reminded me of that. This is John 21, verse 25. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. Jesus did more than is written in the gospel accounts of him. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. You can read through the Gospels, at least one of them, in a day, pretty straightforwardly if you've got nothing else to do. Jesus' ministry lasted 3 years, so of course there had to be more left out than was put in. But this verse reminds us of some really good pointers for when we read the Bible, how we do it. Because if more was left out than was put in, then it reminds us that it's quite an important question to ask: why did the author choose to include this particular incident? Why did Matthew or Mark or Luke or John decide that this particular parable or teaching or miracle or whatever it happened to be, why did they think that that one would be worth including and not another one? What was it about this particular event that made them decide to include it? How did it help to get that fuller, rounder picture of who Jesus is and how he operates? The Gospels are a gift to us. The whole Bible is a gift to us. The Gospels are a gift to us because they help us to understand the nature and the mind of God. If anyone is serious about their relationship with God, they need to be serious about reading their Bibles, because that is one of the primary ways that God shows us who he is. People say, oh, I don't have to be in church to be a Christian. No, sure, lockdown has demonstrated that amply. We don't need to be in church to be Christian. But we do need to read the Bible to be a Christian. Because if we don't read our Bibles, then it's very, very easy to just start fashioning God in our own image, rather than allowing God to tell us what he is like through what he has inspired people to write about him. It's not enough just to listen to a few verses once a week on a Sunday morning. It's not enough to have 5 different versions of the Bible sitting on a shelf collecting dust. We need to be digging into the Bible every day as part of our relationship. I wanted to show you something today. These are postcards. I've got hundreds of them in this box. They're from the First World War, from a guy called Harry Cox, who wrote loads and loads of postcards to his wife Flo. Most of them are just, the weather's okay, hope that you're doing well, I'm all right. But they were kept. Flo kept these postcards, and I imagine that she read them and reread them and reread them over and over again. And 100 years later, then I've got custody of them, looking after them until I pass them on to somebody else. If Flo kept hold of Harry's postcards and treasured them and looked at them to remind her of her beloved husband who was away, how much more should we read the words from God? Anyone who has a loved one who is away from home for a while knows that those letters are tokens of love, and they are poured over in great detail to find new nuances, to remind ourselves of familiar passages. Shouldn't the same be true of God? If we want to love God, if we want to know who He is so that we can love Him as He is, shouldn't we be poring over His Word? Shouldn't we be digging deep into it to try and find those new nuances and reliving the excitement of the familiar passages? The Bible is a love letter from God. So get reading. Get reading. Don't put it off. Don't put off your relationship with God. Don't stunt your relationship with God by choosing to ignore His love letters to you. Read, listen, and grow with God. Well, may He bless you as you dig into His Word. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. God bless.